My hand's stable, I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like soreness.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Philip J. Price, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show, your one-stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Just like every other podcast. Welcome back to the Drunk Turkey Show. I'm Daniel, alongside with me as always on Wednesday nights on Working Women's Wednesday. Big Blue, how you doing, my man?
Hey, Working Women, those are fun. But I'm doing good.
I'm glad. You're gonna be partying it up tonight. You're gonna be working. What's the story, my man?
I'm working tonight, so no alcoholic drinks for me.
Oh, well, that'll be good for somebody. I mean, you know, we want to have you sober and ready for whatever the night may take you.
Yeah, man. But this past weekend, you know, the Worst Fest was pretty good. I had a good amount, so I'm good for a couple weeks.
That's good. I bet you it smells like alcohol when you were working out in the gym, right?
Man, I picked up my shirt from the drive home. Somebody spilled the beer on me, and I left it in the back seat. It still smells like beer.
Man. Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, you know, just don't get pulled over and you'll be fine.
Yeah. It doesn't smell no more in the car, so you're good.
True story, man. That's good, man. So we got a little bit of some news that came out over the past couple of days in the Nashville Covenant private school shooting back on March 27th, which took the lives of 3 adults, 3 children, all age of 9, and then also the gun person themselves. And there's been a lot of debate going back and forth between, you know, when apparently there was a manifesto, and you know, a lot of folks have been wondering, when is that coming out? And it's finally leaked out, but shouldn't have this been out a while ago? What are your thoughts on that, first and foremost, Big Blue?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen other cases where they put the manifestos out right away. I mean, I know in this case they weren't trying to, you know, promote anything, you know, towards that person. I mean, I think they even weren't saying the name for a while, just to keep it on the down low. But I think a lot of people were interested in what he wrote on those notes. You're still muted. Let me see. I can't hear you. Can anybody hear me, or can y'all hear Daniel?
Muted.
There you go.
I was muted.
Yeah. I tried to unmute you, but it wouldn't let me.
Oh, okay. I was like, can you not hear me? I don't know why it went mute. I didn't mute myself. Cold Recovered says, sending love to all the families impacted by the Covenant school shooting. Yes, 100%. So let me pull up a couple of things real quick, and then we'll go through the actual manifesto that's been leaked.
Yes, sir.
I will say, trigger warning. It's probably it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing, and so viewer be advised.
All right. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy couple of notes, and I know our hearts and, you know, prayers go out to the families. You know, they did lose their children. They did lose their loved ones.
Yeah. for sure. And in a senseless, meaningless, it just shouldn't be happening anymore. I just don't understand it. But let's get into the leak, and then we'll talk about who got the pictures of the information, and then we'll actually go through the manifesto itself. So this comes in from CBS News. Says possible leak of Nashville shooters' writings before the Covenant school shooting under investigation. The Nashville mayor's office called on the city's legal team Monday to investigate a possible unauthorized release of writings of Audrey Hale, the shooter who indiscriminately opened fire in March at the Covenant school. The shooter took the lives of 3 children and 3 adults before being fatally shot by police. Mayor Freddie O'Connell issued the statement shortly after conservative radio host Stephen Crowder released what he said were 3 images of the shooter's writings from the day of the rampage. I am deeply concerned with the safety and security and well-being of the Covenant families and all Nashvillians who are grieving, O'Connell said. And so, first and foremost, like I said, we were talking a minute ago about this. This case should be closed, right? Why would it not be available under like Freedom of Information Act or any of those things? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think I remember when we first covered the case, there was something about Tennessee law that wouldn't allow certain things to get, released to the I guess to everybody else and to us. But we remember because at first they weren't leaking the body cam footage, and then then the body cam footage came out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was pretty crazy body cam footage. I mean, there were some brave guys going in there taking care of the perpetrator. I think they did a good job on that one.
Yeah, 100%. Chubarkus Lewiston Strong from Portland, Maine. Give us a shout out and prayers. Yes, prayers out to you guys as well. So this is from the New York Post. This is 7 Nashville detectives suspended. 7 Nashville detectives. Wow. After unauthorized leak of school shooter Audrey Hale's alleged writings. Well, first and foremost, 7, that's pretty crazy. But again, like I said, yeah, you're right. There could be some certain policy or things of that nature that could be preventing, Nashville police from releasing it. But do you think there's any other ulterior motive behind not wanting it released?
Probably because there is a witness that probably could have said something that morning and had police track her down to probably stop this from happening. But maybe to protect that witness. The way that text message sounded like, I think it's that's what they're trying to protect.
But wasn't there the same type of situation like in the Uvalde shooting where that guy had told somebody as well?
Yeah. And I think they were trying to, at first, they were trying to prosecute that person for not saying anything, and then they just dropped the charges, I think.
Crazy.
And everybody's asking, well,
is the perp male or female?
Yeah.
I think she's female. Audrey, right? Audrey Hale's female.
I think she was transitioning to male, but that's,
I don't know. She was going kind of by both. I think she was under some sort of medical. When she passed, she was, she was seeing a doctor for emotional and mental health issues. So I think she was having a lot of problems. Yeah, she was born, and we know her as Audrey Hale, so we'll I guess identify her as female, but I don't think it really matters. What matters is the victims and what is preventing this information from coming out, right? All right, so let's continue this. It says Nashville Police Department has suspended 7 detectives in relation to the unauthorized leak of school shooter Audrey Hale's writings. The officers were placed on administrative duty Wednesday as the agency attempted to pinpoint exactly how conservative commentator Stephen Crowder obtained these explosive documents. Department spokesperson Don Aaron told the station 7 individuals are on administrative assignment to protect the integrity of the active progressing investigation. Aaron stressed the move was absolutely not punitive and said that the suspended detectives would not be named at this time. Crowder said an unidentified party contacted a member of his website's investigative unit claiming to be in possession of a portion of Hale's writings. A member of his team flew to Nashville to meet the source, who showed him images of the documents embedded in a text exchange with a person Crowder described as a Nashville detective. That's not good. Crowder said his team were then able to research and authenticate them, paving the way for their release. While media and some law enforcement groups have argued the writings should be in the public domain, the Covenant School and several victims' family members have opposed their release. I am deeply concerned with the safety, scrutiny, and well-being of the Covenant families and all the Nashvillians who are grieving. Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell said in a statement after Crowder unveiled Hale's materials. A group of parents whose children were present during the massacre also denounced the leak through a spokesman. You have now allowed the shooter who terrorized our family with bullets to be able to now terrorize us with words from the grave, said Brent Leatherwood, Covenant parent. O'Connell said he would launch a probe into the leak in conjunction with the Nashville Police Chief John Drake. Crowder stood by the release, arguing that other mass shooters' manifestos have been released in a timely fashion. What do you think about that, Big Boy? Do you think that because there's precedent on other manifestos being released, that this one should be released as well? Do you think that the victims' families should have a say in whether or not this information gets out there or not? You know, when it comes to the news, there's a lot of information that gets out, you know, in all sorts of cases. And, you know, where's the line? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there is that line, but to me, the manifestos, it's part of, I guess, the story of what happened to the demise of the person. And I think sometimes other people want to know. It's tough to want to find out and know. I mean, especially if it's a family member who reads the words. Some of them are pretty bad, but it's not the thing that I get from the manifesto when I read it. It wasn't pointed towards these children. It was just pointed towards the world. So I don't know, but it's still, somebody can take it personal. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. And the other thing is too, you know, there are certain things that are in this manifesto about how, you know, they were acting and kind of hint to, you know, showing signs of the possibility of committing this later on, right? And, you know, maybe if people see these signs, because it's kind of hard, you know, if you see your friend, right, and you start seeing these certain signs, I'm pretty sure it's going to be kind of difficult to say, hey, you know, this person that I've known for a while is capable of committing a crime that heinous, right? I mean, a lot of crimes are that way, where the actor in the crime, you know, their family members completely, especially if it's like something very heinous, are very, you know, majority of the time they're confused, they're shocked, and didn't know. You know, there are some times that they do, and things like that, obviously, but you know, there are many occasions where they don't.
Yeah.
With
And
something
some
like
of
this, that could kind of maybe I don't know,
yeah,
open someone's eyes. What do you think?
it can open someone's eyes to see, hey, this person needs help, and then whatever we're doing ain't working. Maybe we need to help them more. These were, I mean, private journals, and I saw the writing. I'm like, man, that person, like her writing is looks worse a little bit than my writing, and my writing is bad. Like they were going
Yeah.
through something pretty crazy in their mind. But, I mean, she was also an artist and all this stuff, and her artwork was kind of crazy too. We'll show that later. But I think the manifestos. I know we've seen other manifestos get released the day of or day after, so that's why I was surprised when you guys said it finally got released. Like, man, it's been a while. I
I
hadn't been paying.
mean, you're right. And it's not like the police haven't said that they weren't going to release it. They've said that they were going to release it before. And apparently, like, when we'll read this part real quick, it says Crowder has stood by the release, arguing that mass shooter the manifesto has been released in a timely fashion. This was one that did not follow along with the narrative, he said this week. A lot of people thought it was necessary for this to be out, and there are people involved with the Nashville PD who also believe things have not been necessarily been transparent. Nashville police initially said that they would release 20 journals and a memoir belonging to Hale after their investigation was concluded.
Oh,
20 journals. I mean, this is, we see 3 pages. That's just a tip of the surface.
I mean, that's mind blowing. Because what was on these 3 pages were pretty crazy. I can imagine what the whole journal would be.
Yeah, and the other thing is too. Well, we'll talk about it when we get there. Nashville police initially. Okay, so then it goes on to say, but they have since cited lawsuits related to the materials and delaying any release. Hale, who was transgendered, revealed a deep anti-white animus in her writings, especially towards those she considered privileged. Do you think that the person that they're attacking, well, like that's kind of like what Steven Crowder is alluding to, that because they were, it was somebody who was attacking conservative white folks, and it was the transgender who, basically the narrative that he was talking about. Do you think that plays a toll here?
It can, because they're treading on like on water. You know what I mean? They're going.
Yeah.
They have to be careful what they say, because anything you say can start an uproar, and you go too far to the left or too far to the right, something's gonna chip off that little thing. And especially in Nashville, something. I mean, it's really simple for somebody to take something the wrong way and start. Some people getting angry and doing some attacks on certain places.
Because there's the second part of this narrative that, although, Steven Crowder is trying to push forward, the second part of the narrative that he's bringing to light is the gun narrative, possession rights for, Steven Crowder is on the side for, the Second Amendment, and that everybody should have, their right to have a weapon and protect themselves as they need be. And, school shooting and those type of things really don't reflect well on that side of the political aisle, so to speak. What do you think about that being a particular part of this as well?
Actually, I read a pretty interesting report on this just this morning or yesterday. I was flipping through some articles, and it was talking about a Texas man who, I think he won his case all the way up in the grand jury because he had threatened to to unalive his ex-girlfriend, and he had, I don't know, his weapons taken away, and he couldn't buy anymore. And that was when he was a younger kid, so he fought, and he just won back where he can actually buy weapons now again because it's been so long. Alrighty, hey everybody. I'm gonna take a quick break. Let me see if I find anything good. Hey guys. Hey. Please hit that like.
Sorry about that, y'all. For some reason, I couldn't hear you, Blue. And
That was me earlier. I couldn't hear you either.
Yeah, no, and then like I couldn't hear you talking at all. I can see you talking, and I was like, "You're muted, you're muted." And then I was like, "Am I muted?" So I turned up my phone because I'm watching it on the. I have it up on the phone so I can see the chat, and
Okay.
I turned it up and I could hear you talking. I'm like, "Oh, I'm muted," so I had to refresh that real quick.
It's okay.
For the interruption, y'all.
So the debate that I think you were trying to get to was she was able to buy 7 weapons, right, when she was going through this emotional treatment.
Right.
That's a lot of weapons for. I think it was within a 2-year span. I read on it.
But the thing is, I mean, if you agree with the fact that he should have the right to own something, who should give you a limit on what you can own? Who can limit you on how many properties you can own? Who can limit you on how many TVs you can own? How many cars you want to buy?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I see that. I would want to buy whatever amount I want to buy, but the thing is, when somebody's going through some emotional, suicidal or depression, it might mean it be a watch or something. Like in Florida where they have the red flag rule. If they're under the red flag, they can't have weapons.
Yeah.
Sorry, my daughter opened the door.
Now, and no, I get it. And, I feel that, me personally, I think that there should be, I don't know, maybe some more stricter rules as far as, a person being able to obtain a firearm, and maybe even some training. I mean, if you want to drive a car, you have to pass a driving test, if you want a driving license. So I just don't understand why some of those parameters aren't put on also, handgun safety or weapon safety and things like that. Now I know it's still not going to be a solve everything, but and it wouldn't make a difference in this case, right? Because in this case we just have somebody who's disturbed, right, Big Blue? And so go ahead.
Disturbed, and I had a lot of mental issues. And just by those 3 pages, I mean, I wonder what else is in those books. There's more of how long they've been planning this, because these kind of people plan things, man. It wasn't a spur of the moment thing.
No, it definitely wasn't. And well, there's nothing else we can do but just kind of get into it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, if you guys don't want to, hear some of these things, we're not going to go into the vulgarness of it. We're just going to read through what we can. But just want to give you guys, the disclaimer and the trigger warning, the whole 9 yards that it is vulgar or is disturbing as well. All right, Big Blue, let's go into this.
Alrighty.
Where? Oh, there it is. All right, so at the top of this says, Death Day. Today is the day. Yeah, it does have the date, 3/27/23. So this is the day that this person wrote this. And, I don't know if I want to read everything word for word. But basically what they're saying is, and I think it's been out. I think the news actually put it out a little bit. So it says, today is the day. The day has finally come. I can't believe it's here. Don't know how I was able to get this far, but here I am. So she's kind of boasting, and this is some sort of like celebration for this person.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
That's what they're. It's like she's trying to still make it like into a rhyme.
Yeah,
She's trying to
you know,
rhyme it. You know?
maybe a little like a poem, but
Yeah.
not one of those that necessarily rhymes. Goes on, it says, I'm a little nervous, but been excited for the past 2 weeks. There are several times I could have been caught, especially back in the summer of 2021. Like that's kind of weird, right? So this person was, according to her own, she was putting out the that there was clues, apparently, right, back in the summer of 2021.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of clue that was.
Yeah, I wonder, like I said, she was going through emotional treatment, so she must have been seeing maybe a psychiatrist, and maybe she let it out, but the psychiatrist has to keep it in the medical records. But something if it's like really damning, I think they can say something, but then they would have to pull her psychiatrist records and see all that stuff, and that's kind of, privileged information somehow. But
Right. I'm reading some weird stuff in the comment section. All right. None of that matters now. I'm almost an hour and 7 minutes away. Do you think this is some sort of like maybe taunting? Knowing that this is going to be found by law enforcement and be read.
I think so. I think her writing down the distance of where she was driving from, was like her last words, last memoir without doing a video recording.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember that state where that guy went to the grocery store. Remember, he video recorded himself, his last statements before he walked in.
Oh yeah, dude. Wasn't he like a YouTuber?
I'm not sure. I think he was like live streaming it on Twitch or something.
Yeah. Something like that. Some people are crazy, man. Like, you wouldn't expect it. All right, let's continue this. It says, can't believe I'm doing this. I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. I'm just a coward. That's what this person is. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent something I can't read of that sort. And then this person puts in parentheses. Now, this is why I think this is definitely a taunt. Because where this, incident took place, it was, a private church school. And then they go in to write in, God, let my wrath take over my anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, some people just are a little wrong in the head. Anxiety, that happens to a lot of people, but they don't turn anxiety into this. Anxiety makes people, this is more than just anxiety. When people get anxiety, they get into a panic attack, they freeze, and this person meticulously thought this out. Meticulously enough that he even went to, they have videos and photos of her at the gun range practicing.
Yeah.
So this person can't blame 100% on mental illness when they planned it. And because mentally ill people, like really mentally ill people, they don't know what they're doing. Honestly, like sometimes it's not even real to them.
So what do you think it is? Like just attention? Is it You know, because I don't know how many sane people would go off and think that there's some justification behind this. And I mean, she was also seeing a doctor for mental health issues.
Yeah.
Now, you know, that can go down a completely different, you know, rabbit hole. We can get into big pharma and get into, you know, the drugs that are being forced on children and things like that. That's on its own one whole thing. I mean, is there that a possibility that some of the drugs that she was on had some sort of effect on her mental status? What do you think? I mean, you're in the somewhat in the medical field. Have you ever heard, or is there something going on in, you know, between anybody that in the medical field that talk about some of these drugs that are put out there for our children? You know, the ADHD medication, the anxiety medication that, you know, parents are putting younger kids, that it's just kind of spread out. What is your opinion on that?
I mean, I don't work specifically in that field, but I see that we as a society use it as a norm. We use it as, you know, our like get through day kind of happy pill. When it stops working, we look for other things to do. I mean, that's why there's so many
Right.
people that do drugs and alcohol and because I see it like at early ages, man, early ages that, you know, I do a lot of triaging and screening, and I'm like, you know, minors, like teens, always on anxiety medicines. Like, man, I never thought of that stuff when we were in school. You know what I mean? Nobody,
Yeah.
I mean, unless, you know, we were really, really bad. I guess our parents would take us to the doctor, but we never thought, oh, I'm having a bad day, I need to take a pill kind of day.
Right.
But I think we normalized it now, and it's pretty sad sometimes.
No, I get it. You know, and some folks need it.
Yeah.
You know, there are some folks that do need it, but I just think that, like, for those that don't, and I'm not saying that she wasn't. I don't know who Audrey Hill was or her medical past or any of those things. But well, Lisa says here, I'm an ER nurse. Parents bring kids all the time for med clearance for placement. An alarming number of young kids are on strong psych meds. It's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's a sad story sometimes, you know, and because like something like this person had anxiety, but they went more the route that they want to take others with them kind of deal. And
Yeah.
then the ones I've dealt with more are the kind that I want to take myself out kind of deal. And it's sad because sometimes the parents don't know. You know, sometimes, you know, the parents bring them in and you're talking to the person and you see the signs and you're like, hey, the dad, you know, might have brought him in because how they took like 2 pills. You got to really get into it, like asking some really thorough questions. And 2 pills turned into a whole bottle sometimes. And
Yeah.
they gotta go get, you know, stomach pumped and charcoal and all that stuff. So it's a sad thing, you know. I've seen it where it's like, I remember this one time I was trying to do somebody's blood pressure because they weren't feeling good. I rolled up the sleeve and young person, but probably had 6 marks all the way up the arm, fresh. And you're like, man, and the parents didn't notice until I was trying to do the blood pressure. So I was like, man, you know, you got to keep an eye on your kids, man. Sometimes they will do stuff without you even noticing.
Yeah, 100%, man. It gets crazier and crazier each year. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, you know, the things that my parents did when they were, you know, in their teenage years, you know, young 20s, are probably not something that is considered bad by what we probably did. And then, you know, some of our kids, hopefully not mine, might take it to another level. Miller Time 66 said she was also taking testosterone. if that's true, I mean, that's also like the hormones added to, any type of maybe mental illness that she may have been on, and any
That,
type of medication that she could have been mixing. Who knows how that could have, well, this could be a result as to why this not may have happened, but could have led to the instability of the
yeah.
person.
And I honestly want to say that that is pretty true. When those treatments, they're you're pumping this testosterone into a body that's not meant for it, so it it would throw off your chemical imbalances, man.
That's
And
true.
I mean, there's a story of that. Of the it was a I think she was a YouTuber or TikToker or something where she did a study and she wanted to see how men are treated. So she changed her appearance, got on the testosterone. After 2 years, she committed suicide because it was too much for her. In her letters, they were saying, the pressure, the way everybody looked at her, the way everybody talked to her, just wasn't. It made her go over that bump, man. So it's it's a crazy field out there, man.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a touchy subject too. I mean, you balance between um, somebody who, or you just have to balance between medical and psychological and feelings and thoughts and emotions and perspective and a bunch of different things that go into this type of subject, which without folks agreeing, it's, I don't know, it's just gonna turn into something, could turn into something crazy. I don't know. Let's continue this. It says it might be only 10 minutes tops. It might be 3 to 7. It's going to go quick, which, we had 6 passing 7 with Audrey's life being taken as well by the police. I hope I have a high count. You know what I mean? Ready to die. Ha ha. And then I can't around. Maybe that's what that says. I'm not sure.
That's her initials.
Hmm.
I think I see it on the other one too.
Yeah, it's just, let's flip the next one. All right, so first and foremost, this says redacted on the side. This appears to be a car door behind it. There's the curb. There's some leaves, so they're parked along the side of the road. All right, just a couple of things that I wanted to point out there. You see a bunch of dollar symbols over here on the right side. You see that, Blue?
Yeah, I was looking at that too. There's some writing at the top, but you can't see it. See right there?
5.S.
Time.
That could be time right above it.
Yeah.
That
See,
could
I
be
think
time.
since she knew that the doors were automatic and sealed, so maybe she thought she didn't want to carry her when lunch may be around 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I think she was trying to make it to the lunchroom.
Yeah, well, that would be where
Everybody would be at one place.
Yeah, for mass casualty. Evil, man. Evil. Later scheduled, death day, 6:30, desired, 7 a.m., get dressed, 7:05 to 8:55. It's covered, but it starts with something with an S. With stuffed animals and possessions. I don't know. At 9 a.m., eat breakfast at home. Puts a heart over home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 9:30, pack up special belongings in backpacks. 9:50, test knife car glass breaker on dad's old cars. At 10 a.m., leave for Royal Range. 19 to 20 minutes. 10:20, gear up and set up guns in trunk, assemble, and get out. Rest
But
with
no, the
mags
vest.
inside. Vest. There
Vest,
you
yeah.
go. Good catch, Blue. Good catch. 11:20 final videotape. 10 minutes.
There's a tape out there.
There's a tape. There's a tape.
Mhm.
What do you think's on that tape?
Like most people, like that I've seen, it's just them talking their reasonings, their goodbyes, and whatever other stuff they want to throw in there.
Do you think there's clues as to? I mean, not clues. I mean, she seems very narcissistic, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about her. And she made clues. She put out clues. Do you think she's gonna go in detail about said clues that she put out there, kind of as a you could have stopped me. This is how you could have stopped me, but you couldn't figure it out. You couldn't do it.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the thing that gets me is I don't know why she said summer. If she ever threatened this school, why in the summer there's nobody there? So they probably didn't take it plausible if she did a threat during the summer.
No, I don't know if it's a threat. Maybe it was more of a statement, to somebody. Like, I'm tired of, she went to the school, right? Now, this is completely speculation on my end. Maybe perhaps she sees that this school is responsible for something, right? Because of their beliefs and this or that. Maybe she told somebody, they screwed me up. One day I'm gonna do something, right? And that could have been what she's referencing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like going to any school, you'll get ridiculed, but more of a religious school, and you don't act the same way, or you'll get ridiculed. But I don't know why punish these children when none of these children were not around her at that age. Maybe just in her mind, that's the type of children she should, I don't know, do evil to, but it's just crazy.
No, it definitely is. So it says 11:20 to 11:30, the 10-minute video. 11:35, leave for Covenant School. At 12 p.m., arrive at Covenant School. So she had it down to the time of what time she's going to leave there, what time she's arriving. Kind of gives you an idea of how far she probably was. All right, check parking lot for security. 12:05, arrive in designated parking space. 12:05, 12:10, prepare for attack. And it's jobbled up. 12 something, lock and load all weapons. 12:37, open fire towards. What is that word, Blue?
I think it's southwest entrance.
Way to go, Big Blue. That's true. I don't even want to read that. Let's something begin.
Yeah. Y'all can read that one. Yes.
Yeah.
I think when I saw the video, what did help out a little bit was they did have a little bit of it took a little bit to get through the doors. You know what I mean? The glass, they were, I don't think they were bulletproof. I think they were shatterproof, so it took a while to get through. You know what I mean? And that gave quite a bit of the children some time to run, and the teachers did a good job at getting the children out of the front of the school. But I don't know the school layout, so I don't know where the children would be.
Hey, but I want to ask you a question real quick. Check out this handwriting, right? Look at this handwriting. Look at this handwriting. I mean, the messed up parts, right? You see that?
Yeah.
Does that look the same? That don't look the same to me.
Go back a little bit. Yeah.
See, these lines or these words are straight up and down. Are these straight up and down? Yeah, they kind of are. Maybe it's just the angle, but these look kind of different to me. They look.
I would look at like the Y's, the I's, and see how long her the writing goes up.
Because This is the other one. Does that reading or that writing also look the same? I mean, I feel like this one and the last one kind of do. I just felt like the second one didn't look that. I don't know. Maybe it's just my eyes. Let me know in the comment section. Does it look the same?
Look at the date on this.
This one's from February 3rd.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say the first two.
Yeah.
It says go to private fancy schools with those fancy khakis and sports backpack. So she just was hating on herself. I mean, she went to this school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With her daddy's Mustangs and convertibles. You see, here's the thing. It sounds like her hatred is towards an older group of people.
Yeah.
9-year-olds aren't going to be driving Mustangs and convertibles.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. When I read this, I was like, I think maybe she's getting her thoughts from when she was a child, maybe middle school, high school, and it took her back to elementary, and that's where she got stuck. That's where she had a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And she's talking about blonde people with hair and stuff like that. So I think she had a specific person that she was probably thinking of,
Yeah, she calls them white privilege and uses a slur for describing sexual orientation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me see. These are the messages that went out. So this is Aiden, which is I think her transition name, right?
Yeah.
It says, "This is my last goodbye. I love you. See you again in another life. Audrey, parentheses, Aiden." And the message back goes, "Audrey, you have so much more to life to live. I pray God keeps and covers you." Audrey says, "I know, but I don't want to live. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to upset you or get attention. I just need to die. I wanted to tell you first because you are the most beautiful person I've ever seen and known all my life. My family doesn't know what I'm about to do. One day this will make more sense. I've left more than enough evidence behind." So she definitely wants her story out there. There's no denying that.
That is true.
But something bad is about to happen. Forgive me. And these are unanswered. So basically, that post I made on here about you was basically a self-taken note. I'm planning for my life to end today. It's not a joke. You'll probably hear about me on the news after I pass. This is my last goodbye. Love you. See you again in another life. Audrey, Aiden. Oh, this was before. This was the first one because that was the top part.
I would say it has a time, so I just didn't look at the time.
Yeah. See, this one didn't have the time on them, but this is my last goodbye. Love you. See you again in another life. That's the last statement there.
Yeah.
So this one was the top one.
Yeah.
Now, who was this person, Blue? Do you know who this person was?
I don't. I think they're trying to protect us. No. It doesn't say a name there at that when I was reading through it. But... And it was a cop. I don't think it was a cop or help. I think it was more like a goodbye because she didn't say what she was going to do or where. She just said, I mean, maybe that person would have acted and said, hey, this person's trying to do something to themselves and had to at least go check on them. then maybe it's a different story. But I'm not sure if they did or not.
This doesn't seem right. I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I'm just going to read this. So I'll just say that at first look, the title seems weird. She checked her Instagram. She didn't expect a message from the Covenant school shooter. Now, I don't know if this is the person, but it didn't sound like this person. It didn't sound like, based on those messages that we read, that they weren't unfamiliar with each other. What do you think?
Yeah, to me it was that they knew each other, or they once like not like close friends, but maybe they knew each other in the past. So maybe they were
Right.
distant friends.
Right. But like, for instance, if one of your buddies from like middle school, because this is from like 8th grade, I think, contacted you with some sort of like weird messages like this. Like, that's not somebody you're close to now. I would assume you would. I don't know. I just feel like that conversation would have gone differently.
Yeah. No, I mean, I honestly sometimes, like, I have had a friend reach out a little bit when they were going through some depression, and it's crazy because I was messaging with them, and then you know how I work overnight, so I fell asleep after messaging, and then like I woke up like 3 hours later, and he had messaged me, "Oh man, I'm having a bad day. You don't even want to listen to me. I might do something," and I called him. That was my reaction. I called him right when I woke up and saw, like, "Hey man, I fell asleep. I didn't see your messages. I wasn't ignoring you." So,
yeah. Lisa asks, if police would have taken her friend serious that morning, this would have been stopped. I'm assuming that she did contact police. I thought she didn't, but if she contacted police, what kind of responsibility does law enforcement hold when people report things like this before it happens? And I'm assuming the rest of that was like, and police don't do anything about it. They can definitely get in trouble. There's, actions on becoming of an officer, derelict of duty, probably be the biggest one, where failure to act is basically what that means. And yeah, they can definitely get into some serious heat if somebody's reporting something and they're not taking it serious. There's interviews out there of the girl who tells how she begged police to do something that morning when she called them several times. At 9:57 a.m., a former middle school basketball teammate of Audrey Hale looked at her phone to find a message from the Covenant school shooter on Instagram. Averina Patton said she saw the message that Hale planned to die by taking her own, and that Patton would see it on the news. In the messages Patton provided to Channel 5 News, Hale told Patton she would see her again in another life. Hale told Patton about no longer wanting to live and the need to pass away. One day this will make more sense, Hale wrote. I've left behind more than enough evidence, but something bad is about to happen. Patton still can't believe she was one of the last people to have contact with the Covenant school shooter. The two played basketball together at IT Criswell Middle School years ago. I'm trying to wrap my mind around it all, how I'm involved, how I'm sent the message. I got a lot of questions and I'm giving them to God. Hale was right. Patton found out later on the news. I had no clue it was her. We knew it was a shooting, but I didn't know that message was tied to the actual physical what happened tragedy, said Patton. It's something Patton is still trying to wrap her mind around, knowing she did all she could have helped. Spiritually, it's eating me. It's eating me alive right now, because I'm trying to make God help me wrap my mind around what it is what is this, God? Patton says she hopes that this is a warning to others. My message to you guys would be to say something. I don't care how minimal or how big or how you personally feel about it. If you have something of someone saying, I need help, I'm about to harm myself, say something. The Covenant School, a private Christian school in Green Hills, experienced mass shooting on Monday when students and staff passed on the campus, 3 children and 3 staff members. Hale said family had no idea what was about to happen. I tried to comfort and encourage her and subsequently reached out to the suicide prevention helpline after being instructed by my father at 10:08 a.m. Audrey shared with others that she had been suicidal in the past, and I knew to take this serious, Patton said to News Channel 5. Patton says she called the Nashville Davidson County Sheriff's Office to make them aware of the situation and was instructed to call the Nashville's non-emergency number. By then, MNPD says it was too late. After phone calls from friends and Audrey's name was released as the shooter, the Covenant Nashville School learned that Audrey was the shooter and that she had reached out to me prior to the shooting. Pat said, my heart is full. My heart is with all the families affected, and I am devastated by what has happened. So it does appear that she did try to make contact and was told to call the non-emergency number. That is weird.
Yeah, because, I mean, sometimes I know that there is, depending on the city, when you call the police, they might do like a wellness check.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you call a non-emergent number, they'll send a wellness, like an officer with a, sometimes it's like, not a psychiatrist, I'm trying to think of the other name, social worker, I think. They have a unit sometimes that specifically handles those kind of cases. That way they can, if the person needs to be admitted somewhere, they can do all that stuff.
Right.
But I guess, they don't send an officer out every time, because trust me, there's a lot of calls.
Yeah. Lisa says, I'm 100% pro law enforcement. How forceful are legally allowed to get if someone calls and reports someone who makes threats like this? There's body cam footage of cops going to her house. So as far as the forcefulness about how somebody can get, I mean, unfortunately, some people will call the police on things that aren't true, right? Like, and one of them is like swatting. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. And what that is where somebody's going live stream, like what we are doing, and somebody gets personal information from the creator, find out where they live, and they call the local police department and say that somebody is held at gunpoint or is being kidnapped or something like that. And what ends up happening is the SWAT team will kick in while they're on the live, and these kids think it's funny. So because of those type of things, just because somebody says that this person is claiming to do something doesn't give law enforcement basically the right to take their freedoms away or anything. Now, they can go investigate it. They can talk to the person, make contact with them, and keep a close eye on it. But, unfortunately, just because somebody says something doesn't really make it to the point where law enforcement can go and act on it at that point. Now, if they start investigating it, they look into, she purchased 7 guns recently and start looking at other things. All right, there might be more there. And so, a case has to be built. It's kind of like Brian Koberger case. They got his name from the IGG, but that didn't mean anything. They couldn't go and arrest him for it. They had to build a case, just like any other case in any other situation. As far as who's responsible for that, it doesn't sound like that would have been a law enforcement or an officer's duty. That sounds more like a dispatcher that made the wrong call and said, call, the non-emergency line. And I would assume that dispatcher would probably be reprimanded for that. What do you think, Blue? Do you think that something should happen to that dispatcher?
I mean, it just depends on the protocol. It depends on how the call came in. So we would have to hear the 911 call. Listen, hey, I have a friend that messaged me that she wants to take her on live. Can y'all do a wellness check? Then definitely, they probably should have sent an officer. But if they have a protocol, like, okay, the wellness checks go through the non-emergent, call this number, and they'll be able to help you. But by their own admission, they said that they did that call around 10 o'clock. If you look at the shooter's schedule, I think by 10 o'clock, they were already packing up and getting ready to go, or were already at the shooting range at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, but this was, she didn't start the shooting till like 12:30. When did it actually start?
It was an hour drive from where she was at, remember?
Right. And the other thing is too, I don't think there was anything in her text messages that alluded that they were gonna that she was going to go to a specific school.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It sounded more like probably somebody just taking their own. And
yeah,
when she probably called law enforcement or called dispatch, the call probably came in as that, not necessarily as, hey, this person's going to go to a school and take the lives of people. So I still don't think that it should have been a non-emergency line situation, but I do understand why. And you're right. In a wellness check are, because many of the times that a wellness check is like on when somebody elder passes and nobody can get a hold of them for a couple of days, and then there's a wellness check on.
yeah.
And so because that is the high percentage of those type of calls, I'm assuming, and it doesn't make it right, that's the reason why I did send it off that direction.
That's what I'm thinking. We'll send to a detective that will probably go to the house. But it was probably no alarm saying they should have said, "Hey, she's got a bunch of guns and she might do something." I'm pretty sure they would have shown up quicker, but we don't know that. We don't know what she said.
Yeah.
But I know some places they already have the tapes, so maybe somebody got the tape ready and listened to it.
Yeah. Lisa says, do they have to lay eyes on the person and speak to them to verify that the accusations aren't true? I mean, not necessarily. If you get a call, for instance, that there's, you suspect somebody of trying to do this at their house, right? And the accusation is that they're going to take their own life. An officer would go out there, attempt to make contact at the door. But if nobody answers the door and they can't see anything through the windows, they can't legally go in there, right?
Yeah.
They'd have to get a warrant for that, and they'd have to have reason behind it. And I've never been a part of that, so I don't know what type of, how long that's going to take or things of that nature. But they don't necessarily need to verify it to a certain extent. There's been a situation where, let's just say, an officer arrives at the door, and the person that's the welfare check is about to be, let's just say that Blue calls for a wellness check on Jaime, saying, hey, Jaime's acting crazy, right? So police officer goes out there and knocks on Jaime's door. Let's just say Jaime opens the door just a little bit and says, leave me alone, I'm fine. Closes the door. There's nothing that officer can do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, unless there's something in the presence review, like through the window or something like that. But yeah, they don't have to necessarily verify them with that. And in a situation like this, because the threat wasn't necessarily against other people, it was towards themselves. Law enforcement is going to be put in a very tricky situation where it's, post action or post thought, where the result is what, obviously it's result driven. Police did something bad because people lost their lives, and that's not necessarily the case. But if the accusation is, this person's going to do something insane, whether it's a shooting, bombing, whatever the case may be, an investigation would have to start. And, initially what's going to happen is they're probably going to lay eyes on this person and, just kind of watch them, make sure that they're not doing anything that would lead to something crazy. If they start seeing them packing up backpacks and putting them in their car and it looks like you can kind of see some weapons, you're probably going to knock down that vehicle as soon as they leave. But what I mean by that is pull it over and get probable cause, pull it over and get them out of the car, and if need be, arrest them for something small. What people don't know is there's really only two offenses that a police officer cannot arrest you for throughout the entire United States. Now, I know that there are, other different rules and laws and ordinances that are per state, but a rule amongst all the states that a person cannot get arrested for speeding and for open container. Those are the two offenses that a person cannot get arrested for. Anything else is game. They turn without using their signal light. Although it's a citable arrest or a citable incident, you can give them you can arrest them for it, right? And when you arrest them for it, you process the vehicle, the whole 9 yards. And I know everybody's going to say, hey, I know people that have gotten arrested for speeding. It's not for speeding. It's probably for reckless driving. If they're going for, through it, if they're endangering people to that extent with their speed, it's considered reckless driving, which is a different offense. And open container doesn't necessarily mean that the person, was driving and drinking. It could have been somebody else's container in the car. And if the person is drunk, well, that's a different offense than just the open container. Does that make sense to you, Boo?
Yeah. I know in Texas, I've always been told that way you don't get arrested is it can't be at arm's reach.
Nah.
That's why you can have the containers not open, but like in your car, but like if they suspect you drinking and you have it at arm's reach, it can get you for more drinking and driving because you have the containers in there.
No, just having a container, even drinking while driving, doesn't constitute somebody under the influence to the point where their driving is impaired by their drinking. There is certain statutes, or not certain statutes, certain tests that need to be provided to determine the level of intoxication. And that level of intoxication matched with usually or typically, you corroborate that evidence with a breathalyzer, and that'll determine whether or not a person is or can be arrested. So for instance, if I popped literally, honestly, the one beer and got down the road and was drinking one beer and hadn't even drank all of it, got pulled over, and let's just say I got pulled over for,
tail light.
Tail light that's out. That's a perfect example. My tail light's out. That doesn't mean my driving is impaired, right? And if my driving's not impaired, then and I do a breathalyzer and I come out below 0.08, then I'm not driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated, right? I'm just driving with an open container. And so if that person is over the age of 21, then you can still, I guess, technically arrest them, but they'll definitely beat that charge.
Yeah.
It wouldn't fly. But yeah, and like I said, those are the only two offenses that somebody cannot go to jail for. And so I've heard of stories where, officers have arrested somebody because they suspected them of running dope or breaking into houses because of their addictions and things of that nature. And, got them off the street for that night. And sometimes it was as little as, oh gosh, I don't know. I think I heard somebody say something about a signal light. Guy didn't use a signal light, so he took him in. But this guy was like a well-known burglar, and he was out at like 3 a.m, had some stuff in the back of his car, and you can tell that he was out burglarizing houses that night. But those crimes hadn't been discovered, right? You had the bike, you had all this stuff, but whoever he took those items from hadn't found it. So the officer took it amongst himself to arrest him then, knowing that come the morning when those crimes were discovered, there was going to be some calls coming in. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And the guy ended up getting hooked up for burglary and a bunch of other things as well.
Yeah.
So there's reason behind the madness, I guess.
Yeah, but I gotta cut it short here in a minute. I gotta go to work.
Yeah, no, we're going to cut it here pretty soon. It says, were the cops who were accused of wasting time and not going into the school during the Uvalde shooting get fired? I have charges pressed against them. I only followed that case for a short time. I don't think so. In fact, I think one of the deputies, not the deputies, one of the state troopers that was involved, one that said that if it was on camera, if it was her child in that school, that she would have already been in there. Uvalde School District hired her as a school police officer after that incident. Can you believe that?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen and heard some stories. I feel bad for the people from Uvalde because it's kind of like the same with the school shooting, same situation. Except there was a lot more casualties.
Yeah.
They're still struggling. They hired a new police chief from a different city. Half the people didn't want to accept them. They don't want to accept the new turns. I mean, I feel bad for the parents, but they wanted the school tore down and a memorial be put up, right, or something. They didn't want the school being used, and they were gonna put the school. Somebody donated a lot. Somebody donated. I think they donated the money for it, and the parents don't want the school built over there because it's too far from them now, and it's only like, well, this is a small town. I think it's only like 4 miles from the other school. So
Oh wow.
There's like a big debate every time there's there's a town meeting. They were still arguing with the new police chief, and that's. I mean, I would probably be upset with my children too. Still, I think they're still using the school because they haven't been able to build it because nobody's been able to come to terms.
Right. There's no answer that's going to fix anything in any of these situations. You know, there's no arrest. There's no person whose life could be taken. There's no, and I'm talking about like through the court. Like think of, maybe perhaps Rex Humerman. He's not as controversial as Brian Koberger. There's no right answer. You can take that person's life away, but that's not going to bring anybody back. That's not going to stop the pain. And when it comes to Uvalde, because it's such a small community, that scar is being as big as it is covers everything. You know what I'm saying? Like because of the size of the community, it doesn't matter where this would have happened. It would have been big, but it's just horrible. And I think they're going to be in a situation for a while. But like with everything else, time will kill all things.
They still have the murals, and I think the other day when I drove by, it's been a few months since I driven through there. They still had like the little memorial thing at the park in the middle.
Yeah, I just drove by there, a couple of times within the last couple of months, and they're still having things out there at the park. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Not, one of our better shows as far as the content goes, but some pretty disturbing stuff, needless to say. And I guess we got an idea of a little bit about what's going on out there. Lou, do you have any final words for everybody?
No, I mean, I thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the children. They didn't want this information to be released. I know we read through it, so I apologize if it upset you. God bless you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%. This information that we read out there it's out there. It's in the news. It's I've seen it on multiple stations, and I understand the want for privacy and for it not to be out there. I'd probably be in the same position. Just being honest, but there's no good way of doing things like this. You know what I'm saying? When somebody's reporting and talking about true crime, there's always victims and families and emotions and stuff that are tied into it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everybody that's listened in. We'll see you guys on Friday. Jaime will be back. He'll be joining us. He'll be dressed as the Muffin Man. Look forward to it. If you want to see that, make sure you like and subscribe and ring that notification bell.
The Muffin Man?
Yeah. Or maybe it was the gingerbread girl. I don't remember. One of the two.
Not my gumdrop buttons.
Oh, it'll be a fun time, man. Christmas is just around the corner. You know what